Hi guys, following on from my last two videos on trajectories in range finding, looking again at crossbow bolts, we want to look at hardness and why it's needed. You probably know, if you're new, this is for the new guys into bugging out. What's the different ratings on the arrows? 300s, 500s, carbon, full carbon, mixed carbon, fiberglass, alloy. Every arrow bolt has a different use, different qualities. Some you want, some you don't. In your high power bows, you want a good, I mean good, hard arrow with minimum flex. So the number on the side, 300, 450, 500, 600, is the flex rating of the arrow, how much it'll bend. Now, with a crossbow, the higher the poundage, the lower you want the number on the side. So a 200 rated arrow has very minimal bend. I'll show you on this one. Here we have a full carbon 400 arrow. Look at this. Look at that bend there. Look at that. Bring it back. You can see the bend. This is a 400 arrow. This is for use with a longbow or a recurve. And because it was called the Archer's Paradox, we got a little bit off. You do need a bend in the arrow, especially for a new shooter. But anyhow, I diversed. So this is a 400 arrow. Look at the curve in that. Here we have a 250 full carbon. Nothing, hardly. That's really pushing. This is an Eaton match competition Magnum arrow, top of the range. You won't get much better than this. Whereas opposed to, let's have a look here. He said this arrow is a 400, it bends. So when you fire from your high power crossbow, 175, 180 plus, 200 plus, that other string in the back flexes the arrow, goes all over the place. So you want a good low rating 200, 250, 300 arrow bolt to work with that. Lower poundage bows, especially recurve crossbows, 450, 500 is fine. How the power is delivered to the arrow is completely different. It's delivered with a smoother, more progressive acceleration. As is released from the sear on the crossbow, it releases a string. It is rapid, it is fast, but the limbs come out smoother, giving a gentler push in the shoulder and a smooth acceleration of the arrow. Whereas a compound crossbow, same as a compound bow, it's instant. It just fires with such rapid force. A fiberglass arrow or anything like that, low quality arrow, will just shatter. The same arrow in a 150 pound bow, recurve, is absolutely fine. No good in a high poundage bow. So that's the first thing on the numbers on the side. The lower the number, the stiffer the arrow is. Okay, consistency in flights. If you're new to archery, a softer arrow is with a conventional bow, is more forgiving for the new shooter. With a low poundage bow, again, seasoned mature shooter, high poundage bow, no good. But the flights, and this is important. Flights give you drag. They also stabilize the arrow. So if you've got no flights, the arrow will spin wildly in flight. Smaller the flight, less drag, less resistance, faster the arrow goes. So if you've got a high poundage bow, the stiffer the arrow, the smaller the flight, the faster it will fly. If you've got a low poundage bow, and you're using softer arrows with feather flights, the slower it'll fly. But there's a trade-off. A lot of people disagree, but most professional shooters still use conventional feather flights because they do centralize the arrow better, improving accuracy. Okay, so that's flights. So speed, smaller flight, you can lose accuracy, but if you're doing short range hunting, short to medium range hunting, I would definitely go with a plastic flight. If you're doing accuracy and you're doing competition, feather flight. Because it doesn't so matter about the penetration, it's more about hitting your mark. Right, next up, consistency. Once you find a bolt that you're happy with and you're consistent with, buy them in batch. Because even from the same manufacturer, the thickness of the material inside the bolt varies from batch to batch. When I used to buy my ammunition from Daystate, I used to buy 100 tins at a time in batches. Because the quality of the lead, the amount of tin in the lead varies from batch to batch. So once you find a batch, especially with the old Crossman Premiers, once you find a batch that was good, you wouldn't buy the old batch initially, you just buy several, one or two. Find out how it matched the bore of the gun and see if it was consistent enough. You'd weigh them, you'd wash them, you'd lubricate them for every shot. And once you found a batch that was good, or a tin or a batch, you'd buy the whole batch. Same with crossbow bolts. These ones here from Easton. Every arrow is individually numbered. Try and get on camera. There you are, just by my thumb finger there. Every arrow. So you know exactly which batch it come from, which production line it come from. So you can have two machines set up the same, and one will give a better quality bolt than another. These ones from Top Archery. These are a good arrow, full carbon, 400 rating. Excellent arrow for archery. They're not numbered. They could be off any machine with any type of weave inside. You don't know if it might be thin by here, it might be thick by here. You don't know. So the balance of the arrow can be totally different from arrow to arrow. So you could be shooting, you're thinking, oh, what am I doing wrong? I'm missing. May not be you. You may be doing everything right, but it's down to the equipment that you use. They say a bad shooter always uses equipment. Can be true. I've seen it many times with people with tens of thousands of pounds of shooting equipment in competition and they still crap. But the same goes for archery. If your equipment isn't up to spec and you want to hit that guy with a 225 pound draw crossbow, Raptor Predator, something like that, stop clapping your arms, Mark, is it annoying? And you got to hit that long range. You want a bolt that will fly true and it doesn't vary from shot to shot. A heavy bolt will drop short, a light bolt will fly further. It can change your point of impact by as much as 4 or 5 feet, maybe 10 feet at 100 yards. All depends on what tip you're using, what flights you're using, even the nock you're using. If you've got a steel nock or a plastic nock, it all varies. So once you get a bolt you are really happy with and it's consistent and you're hitting your mark at 60 yards, shot after shot after shot, grouping inside 2-3 inches, and you can do that. In competition field target, I group inside an inch at 100 yards. Won several trophies shooting competition. Some are stuck on a shelf over there. So yeah, once you find your batch, stick with it. For learning, a lot of people say, oh, it's a Chinese arrow, it's crap. A lot of the manufacturers, like Crossman, rebrand Chinese products for center point, etc. Centre point is just a Mankung crossbow. So is the Velocity Armageddon, it's an MK400. So is the Anglo Arms Legend, that's also a Mankung crossbow. Majority of them are Taiwan, not Chinese, Taiwan crossbows, rebranded to the individual seller. In fact, I would probably say 90% of all crossbows in the world are actually of Chinese origin or Taiwan origin. Anyway, that's diversing. But once you're competent in shooting regular and you gain your grouping in, start investing in looking to professional grade arrows. I've had people come up to me on eBay and oh, I'm paying as expensive. You get what you pay for is the bottom line. If you want quality, some of the American bolt manufacturers like Easton, Mutts Nuts, you can't beat them. Really high quality, Eaton Magnums. Each arrow is individually numbered, tested, perfect. For intermediate range work, my personal choice, Yao Xing Ying, TI Spine 400s. I use my MK400 and XB52. These work, they're good. For those who don't know, I'm a Mankung parts dealer in the UK. I don't sell the crossbows, but if any of you guys need the parts, I can source them, help you out. So, especially on some of the older, no longer produced crossbows. Rather than throw it away, give me a shout first. Okay guys, so just a quick recap. Get your aim, get your practicing, get your ranging. Once you're competent, start investing in professional equipment for longer ranges. You are not going to hit consistently with a budget arrow as you would with a professional arrow. There is a difference. It's the reason why Olympic shooters use them. You're thinking Olympic quality. If you want to shoot long range, that's what you've got to be aiming for. Cheers guys.